We are the dreamers, the shapers, the singers and makers. We study the mysteries of laser and circuit, crystal and scanner, holographic demons, and invocations of equations. These are the tools we employ, and we know many things. Welcome to another episode of Just in Time Worlds with your host, Marie Mullaney. Today, let's explore magic in space and what it means to blur the line between technology and magic. Today, we're going to talk about magic in science fantasy, or magic in space fantasy, depending on what you want to call the genre. This is part of my ongoing series about world building in science fantasy, the genre where you draw on elements from both science fiction and fantasy. We're not just going to talk about implementing a magic system in space, but also about how to create Magitech and how to join magic with technology so that the whole of it makes a seamless component of your fantastical approach to world building. If you haven't yet seen my other videos in this series, there is a playlist right over there that you can check out before we plunge into today's video. Now, this video has been available for members of my channel for quite some time now. Members of the Build It in Wood level and higher get access to all my content immediately. Members of the Build It in Straw level get access to some of my content immediately and some of it within a week or two. All members get access to exclusive member-only videos, and they can download my worksheets for free, which otherwise you have to buy on Ko-fi. So if you're interested in these great perks and in supporting the channel, you can join the channel membership right here on YouTube by hitting the join button down below. Okay, enough of that. Let's get cracking with magic in space. First, I think we should talk about the thematic aspects of including magic in a story that probably already has a heavy focus on technology, as is typical in the science fantasy genre. Thematically, magic often represents an individual's prowess, their uniqueness, a connection to ancient and mystical forces. It's frequently depicted as an innate ability, or one that requires special training, or perhaps even a special lineage, and see my thoughts on genetic magic systems in the information card. Now, in many stories, magic symbolizes personal growth, a spiritual journey, and the harnessing of internal natural forces, often reflecting the personal destiny of the character. On the other hand, technology is usually accessible to a much broader range of individuals in a fictional world. It can be learned, built upon, and used by anyone with the necessary knowledge and resources. A piece of technology might be the result of scientists collaborating over several years, some of them dead before the end product is reached by others. For example, in our world, Alan Turing did amazing work on the concept of artificial intelligence. And today, long after his death in the 50s, we have chatbots that are starting to brush against the edges of general artificial intelligence. This exemplifies the nature of technological development. Technology symbolizes the advancement of society as a whole, rather than the power of the individual. It often represents the democratization of power, where tools and machines enable people to achieve feats similar to magical abilities, but without the need for innate talent or mystical heritage. Thus, technology stands for the collective achievement and ingenuity of society, highlighting progress and innovation. When both of these elements are present in a story, they can create a very interesting dynamic and conflict. One of the worlds that illustrates this conflict very well is Star Wars. As Han Solo says, a lightsaber and a hokey religion is no match for a good blaster at your side. Especially in the prequel series, despite its flaws, you get a sense of the tension between the Jedi and their magical power versus the technology power brought into play by the Clone Wars, the Trade Federation, the droids, and all of the opposition to the Senate, all of them being opposed by the Jedi's more magical orientation. So if you have an actual magic system like the Force, which is separate from your technology, it is interesting to explore not just the combination of these two, but the conflicting points in your society, the struggle between those invested in magic and those invested in technology. However, you don't have to take the Star Wars approach where they're almost in opposition. In Avatar: The Last Airbender, as the society evolved, the bending of elements started to fuel technology. This first happened in the Fire Nation with the advent of their war on the rest of the bending society, where they fueled their ships by means of benders. But it was picked up by the other bending nations. And in this way, you can use the democratization power of technology to spread the magic to more individuals throughout your society, giving your society access to that magic in a way that we understand, because this is what technology does for us. I can't run very fast, but with a car, I can beat any given runner. The power of technology. So you can invest magic into technology, and then your conflict between the individual and societal aspects of magic versus technology turns into a democratization of magic via technology. And perhaps here you only need mages to craft the initial items or to refuel the items using their magic. In that case, mages become more like craftspeople, while everybody can become a warrior using magic or a frontline magic user. And those who actually create the items become more background people. So that's if you're using technology to democratize magic. But you can go the other way round, where you use magic to make technology exclusive. An example of this is in the Warhammer 40k universe and in the Dune universe, where you need to use people to navigate through space. In Dune's case, this is the magic of consuming spice and becoming navigators. And in Warhammer 40k, it is people who are born with the mutation of the third eye, enabling them to see through the warp, to see through the immaterium, the demon realm, without going crazy. Now, when you do this, you're taking the leveling effect of technology, the spaceship enabling everybody to travel, and instead you're saying, no, only those with special magic skill can actually use this piece of technology. Stargate did that as well in a almost technological way. They had ancient technology which only people with the ancient gene could activate. Essentially, they took a piece of technology and then applied to it a genetic magic theme to make it exclusive. The technology is still the technology, but magic makes that technology exclusive to a certain group of people. So you can take it either way when you're combining magic and technology. You can go with magic becoming democratized, or you can go with technology becoming exclusive. I do want to bring up one counterexample to all this from straight fantasy, and that is Tolkien. In Tolkien's world, magic represents nature and the natural world. Technology represents essentially the evils of progress, war, and man destroying nature. So again, you have the conflict between the two, but technology is absolutely the bad guy here, destroying the beauty of magic, which is infused in the natural world. So bear in mind, you can always flip your themes around with technology and magic. Now, in this video, I'm covering more of the broad thematic elements as they're generally applied rather than the exceptions. So if you've enjoyed this discussion of the thematic role of technology versus magic, go ahead and democratize my video, hit that thumbs up button, and let's talk about Magitech as its own thing, now that we've spoken about those thematic elements. So first, what is Magitech? It's essentially technology that is powered by magic. This concept tends to lean more towards the democratization of magic rather than making it exclusive, although it could be used to make it exclusive as well. The essence of Magitech is to create technological devices imbued with magical attributes. A classic example of Magitech is the Magitech armor, of course, from Final Fantasy. This armor is a technological marvel that's powered by magic, functioning like an exoskeleton suit controlled by a pilot, but its source of power is purely magical. This makes it incredibly expensive to operate, requiring a substantial amount of magical energy. This approach is similar to how benders in the world of Avatar: The Last Airbender and the Legends of Korra power technology using their abilities. Here, you're essentially substituting electricity with the power generated by mages. Now, this brings up some interesting ethical implications. If your mages are forced to generate power without benefiting from it, it could be considered a form of enslavement for the majority of your non-magical population's benefit. This concept can be a rich thematic vein, especially if previously the mages were the dominant ruling class and have since been overthrown, creating a dynamic conflict between mages and non-mages. Maybe that's not a theme that you want to play with, so make sure that if you are using magic to fuel these Magitech devices, that either it is a theme you want to play with, that mages are being forced to power these things, or mages are benefiting from powering these things, either by powering them themselves or by getting monetary recompense for their efforts. And in that way, you prevent an unintentional theme from creeping into your story. And for more of my thoughts on unintentional themes, check out the video on that topic. Another aspect of Magitech is using magic not as fuel, but as the guiding intelligence behind technology. For example, in the Eberron universe, the Warforged are golem-like creatures made from wood and metal. They are animated by placing a child's soul inside them, creating a sentient robotic soldier powered by magic. This raises some very interesting ethical questions about the nature of consciousness and the use of magic in technology. So you can take this concept of a guiding consciousness and take a person and put them inside technology. Warhammer 40K takes the same kind of approach with a lot of its tech, where it uses people to partially power technology because there was a war against artificial intelligence in the far past, and so artificial intelligence is forbidden in the Warhammer 40K universe. So think about that combination of magic being the guiding intelligence behind technology. And do give the ethics of that some consideration on how you want to address that theme. And you don't have to address it, but if you leave it unaddressed, it does carry with it the certain implications about your society. I mean, there is a reason why we refer to Warhammer as the OG grim dark universe. In the grim darkness of the 41st millennia, there is only war. Now, before I move on to talk about technology as magic, I do want to talk about the hybridization of magic and technology in not necessarily magic tech, although it does lean into magic tech as a concept, but in the way that it's done in Babylon 5 with the Technomancers. They use advanced technology which they imbue with mystical properties. They said the line, and tell me if this sounds familiar to you in the comments. So Elric says the following about the knowledge of Technomancers. We know 14 words to make someone fall in love with you forever. 7 words to make them go without pain. How to say goodbye to a friend who is dying. How to be poor, how to be rich. How to rediscover dreams when the world has stolen them from you. That is why we are going away, to preserve that knowledge. Is it just me, or did Patrick Rothfuss lift the 7 words to make someone fall in love with you straight from Babylon 5? No shade at Rothfuss here. It's a beautiful homage to the Technomancers, not plagiarism. Anyway, while Babylon 5 mostly focuses on science fiction elements, the inclusion of Technomancers adds a really beautiful layer of mysticism. They treat technology with a reverence typically reserved for magical artifacts, with the reverence that Tolkien treats magic. Indeed, they inspired my skit at the beginning of this video because they can create illusions using their technology. There is this great scene in the series where Veer is coming to try and convince them to go see Ambassador Lando Mollari, and he's attacked by a freaking dragon that's made from illusion of the Technomancers. The Technomancers highlight themes of coexistence and integration of diverse ideologies and systems. They were originally created by the Shadows for warfare, and they evolved beyond their initial purpose, sharing their knowledge with others and choosing to leave to avoid being drawn back into conflict. So you can absolutely combine science and mystical in creating not just technology powered by science, but also in creating a class of wizard who uses technology in combination with some mystical and unexplained source. Now, there are other items in fiction that may seem similar to magic, such as the Doctor's sonic screwdriver in Doctor Who. However, these fall into a different category, which I want to discuss next, and that is sufficiently advanced technology. If you've enjoyed this segment on Magitech, consider showing your support by giving this video a super thanks. And let's talk about Clarke's Law. Let's first discuss the Doctor Who universe, particularly the psychic paper. As far as we know, there is no magic in the Doctor Who universe. The Time Lords are simply technologically advanced. At least that's the impression I get from the series. It doesn't seem to be magic per se. However, they never explain how the psychic paper works. It's just a piece of paper that displays whatever the Doctor wants it to say. This makes it function similarly to a soft magic system. The creators of Doctor Who have crafted an item that, for all intents and purposes, is magical. It is sufficiently advanced that nobody else in the universe except the Doctor understands it. And we, the viewers, never truly grasp the workings. Now, in the Doctor Who universe, we are generally in the role of the companion as viewers, not the Doctor. In other words, if this was a novel, I believe it would be written from the companion's perspective as a peripheral narrator rather than from the Doctor's perspective as the protagonist. So, the psychic paper is a piece of technology, but it is so advanced that functionally it is magic. And this is a soft technological magic, which sounds like a contradiction, I know, but they managed to pull it off. They did the same thing with the sonic screwdriver. It's a piece of soft technology that does whatever is needed without being a weapon. It's not used directly to overcome any challenges, but rather it smooths out the Doctor's minor issues. It is soft technology if you take Brandon Sanderson's rules of magic and apply it to tech. Now, let's talk about a slightly harder form of technology as magic in the Stargate universe. Stargates establish a wormhole between 2 points. In the first episode of SG-1, Carter puts her hand on the Stargate and remarks, "You can see the ripples in the event horizon." And that is the explanation for us, the viewers, that this is wormhole technology that exists between these 2 points. We also know that you need a dial home device or some other way to interface with a Stargate, and you need the address of another Stargate to connect to. These are very firm rules, but the actual establishment of a wormhole between the 2 points is incomprehensible technology from our perspective. This establishment of the wormhole is sufficiently advanced that it is effectively magical. It does not have a scientific explanation, and that's 100% fine. But it is still a harder scientific system than the psychic paper, because with the Stargate we have specific limitations and rules around using it, making it a harder technologically magic item. Now, if you look at both of these examples, you can see quite clearly that this is technology being used as magic. And this is a perfectly viable object for magic in science fantasy. To use magic that is literally so far advanced that it cannot be explained, it is magic, but it's called science. And those are my thoughts on creating magic in science fantasy, its narrative purpose, and how you blur the line between the fantastical and science. I'll be exploring specific instances of technology fairly shortly, things like artificial intelligence in science fantasy and faster than light travel in science fantasy, because I think that both of those categories of technology do deserve some specific love. So if you're interested in more science fantasy world building, let me know in the comments what you're most eager for, and make sure to ring the bell so that you're notified when these videos are available. If you want to support the channel, check out my video on technology in fantasy. Hitting one of these end screen videos tells the algorithm that my channel is worth caring about and shows my thumbnails to more people. So please, click it right over there.